When the doors opened, the aliens expected a battalion. Instead, a single human walked in. No guards, no weapons, no fear. Within minutes, every representative in the chamber realized something horrifying. They hadn't come to negotiate with humanity. They had come to survive its decision. The impossible assignment. The last negotiator. Sarah Chun stared at the half-empty bottle of whiskey on her desk. 3 years ago, she had been the United Nations' most successful crisis negotiator. She had talked warlords into surrendering. She had convinced terrorists to release hostages. She had brought enemies to the same table and made them shake hands. Then came the Mumbai incident. 43 people died because she had said the wrong thing at the wrong moment. The inquiry cleared her of wrongdoing. The therapist said it was not her fault. But Sarah knew better. She had failed, and those people paid the price. Now she worked as a consultant, reviewing other people's negotiations from the safety of her apartment. No more field work. No more lives in her hands. Just reports and recommendations that nobody read. The knock on her door was unexpected. Sarah was not expecting visitors. She opened it to find 2 people in military uniforms she did not recognize. Behind them stood 3 more soldiers. "Dr. Chan," the woman said. "I'm Colonel Morrison. We need you to come with us immediately." "I don't do field work anymore," Sarah said automatically. "This isn't a request, ma'am. By executive order of the Security Council, you're being conscripted for a Class 1 diplomatic emergency." Sarah felt her stomach drop. Class 1 meant extinction-level crisis. "What happened?" "They arrived 6 hours ago," Morrison said quietly. 12 ships. They're waiting in orbit. They want to talk. The orbital platform, the shuttle ride-up was silent. Sarah sat strapped into her seat, trying to process what she had been told. Aliens were real. They had found Earth. They wanted to negotiate. And somehow, impossibly, she was the one they had chosen to send. The briefing had been rushed and incomplete. 3 major alien species controlled this region of space. They called themselves the Galactic Consortium. They had rules about new species entering their territory. Earth had violated those rules by developing faster-than-light communication. Now humanity would face judgment. The other nations had argued for days about who to send. China wanted their top diplomat. Russia insisted on their foreign minister. America demanded representation. Europe, Africa, Asia, everyone wanted their voice heard. Then the aliens sent a message. They would speak to one human. Only one. If Earth sent more, the talks would end immediately. "Choose wisely," they said. "You will not get a second chance." 12 governments had screamed at each other for 18 hours. Finally, someone remembered Sarah, the woman who could talk to anyone. The negotiator who never failed, except for that one time that everyone pretended to forget. They gave her 72 hours to prepare. She spent it reading everything humanity knew about the visitors, which was almost nothing. The aliens had shared no information about themselves. They simply waited in orbit like judges deciding a verdict. The platform appeared ahead, a massive construction built in desperate haste. It was designed to hold one thing, a meeting room where humanity's fate would be decided. Sarah walked through the airlock alone. The military escort stayed behind. She had requested that. Whatever happened next, she needed to face it without distractions. The meeting chamber was enormous. The far wall was transparent, showing Earth below, blue and fragile. In the center of the room sat a simple table with 4 chairs. 3 of those chairs were already occupied. The consortium Sarah had seen their images in the briefings. But nothing prepared her for meeting them in person. The first creature called itself Executor Viarn. It belonged to a species called the Kazrith. Viarn stood 7 feet tall, covered in smooth gray skin that seemed to absorb light. Its eyes were solid black, emotionless and calculating. The Kazrith controlled most of the consortium's military forces. They viewed the universe through pure logic and efficiency. The second was Ambassador Thel of the Arathian Collective. The Arathians were smaller, barely 5 feet tall, but their presence filled the room. They possessed powerful telepathic abilities. Thel's skin shifted colors constantly. responding to thoughts and emotions that Sarah could not detect. The Arathians served as the consortium's diplomatic corps. The third alien was the most disturbing. Commander Zareth belonged to the Kryn Dominion. The Kryn were predators, pure and simple. Zareth had 4 arms, each ending in claws that could shred steel. Its face was all teeth and hunger. The Kryn formed the consortium's enforcement division. They handled problems that diplomacy and military force could not solve. Sarah sat down in an empty chair. Her hands wanted to shake, but she forced them to remain still. 3 species that had ruled space for thousands of years sat across from her, and she was just one human who could not even save 43 people in Mumbai. Dr. Sarah Shen, Executor Viren, said. Its voice was perfectly flat, without any emotion. You represent Earth. I do, Sarah said. Her voice was steady. That was good. Your species has violated consortium protocols, Viren continued. You developed FTL communication without authorization. You broadcast signals across restricted space. You attracted attention you were not ready for. We didn't know there were protocols, Sarah said. Ignorance is not an excuse, Commander Zareth growled. Its voice sounded like grinding metal. New species either follow the rules or face consequences. Ambassador Thel's colors shifted to deep purple. We have seen this pattern before, Dr. Chen. Young species reach for the stars before they are ready. They bring chaos. They start wars. They must be controlled. Sarah felt ice forming in her chest. Controlled how? That is why we are here, Viren said. To determine Earth's classification, to decide what role your species will play in the galaxy, and if we don't accept your decision. The 3 aliens exchanged looks. Then Viren spoke again, and Sarah heard the death sentence in its words. Then Earth will be reclassified as a contaminated system. All human activity will be terminated. Your planet will be quarantined for 10,000 years. This is the mercy we show to species that cannot be saved. Sarah sat perfectly still. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to pass judgment. Humanity was on trial, and she was the only defender in the courtroom. She thought about the 43 people who died in Mumbai. She thought about all of the negotiations she had walked away from. She thought about the whiskey bottle on her desk. Then she pushed all of that aside. She was a negotiator. She talked to people who wanted to kill each other and made them change their minds. These aliens thought they held all the power. Sarah was about to teach them otherwise. Tell me, she said calmly, what makes you think you have the right to judge us? The silence that followed told her everything. They had never been questioned before. The trial was about to begin. The price of weakness, the history lesson, Ambassador. Thel's colors flashed bright red. The telepathic alien leaned forward, and Sarah felt a strange pressure against her mind, like invisible fingers trying to push through her skull. We have the right because we have survived, Thel said. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 12,000 years. We have seen hundreds of species like yours. Most destroyed themselves. Others destroyed their neighbors. We learned to act before the damage spreads. Executor Viren activated a holographic display above the table. Images began to form in the air. We will show you why judgment is necessary. This is the historical record of your species. Sarah watched as humanity's story unfolded in fast motion. The images showed early humans hunting with stone tools, building the first cities, creating art and music. Then came the wars. Small conflicts between tribes grew into massive battles between nations. The display showed armies clashing, cities burning, weapons growing more destructive with each passing century. Commander Zareth made a sound like laughter. Your species has been killing itself since it learned to walk upright. You fight over land, resources, ideas, even invisible concepts you call religion. You are chaos incarnate. The images continued. World War I, World War II, the Holocaust, Hiroshima, Vietnam, Rwanda, Syria. Every dark moment of human history played out in brutal detail. Sarah forced herself to watch. She had asked for this. She needed to see what they saw. In your last century alone, Viren said, its voice still emotionless. You have killed over 100 million of your own kind. You have developed weapons capable of destroying your entire planet multiple times. You poison your own air and water. You cannot agree on simple facts. Your nations spend more resources preparing for war with each other than they do feeding their hungry. Half your planet lives in poverty while the other half wastes resources, Thel added. The colors on its skin shifted to dark blue. We sense your emotions, Dr. Chun. Even now, humans on your world are fighting, killing, hating. You cannot even stop fighting long enough to face us united. Sarah took a slow breath. This was the prosecution's case. They were not wrong. Every fact they presented was accurate. Humanity's history was soaked in blood. She could try to defend it, to explain the context, to argue that other species must have gone through similar phases. But that would be playing their game by their rules that Sarah had not survived 30 years as a negotiator by accepting the other side's framing. You're right, she said simply. The three aliens stopped. They had clearly expected argument, defensiveness, desperate excuses. Sarah's agreement seemed to confuse them. You're absolutely right about everything you just said, Sarah continued. We do fight constantly. We do waste resources. We have killed millions of our own people. We are divided and chaotic and self-destructive. Then you accept our judgment, Viren said. I didn't say that. Sarah leaned back in her chair. I said you're right about the facts. But you're drawing the wrong conclusion. Commander Zaris' claws extended slightly. Explain. The human paradox Sarah stood up and walked to the transparent wall, looking down at Earth. You've been watching us for how long? Since we developed FTL communication? 6 of your months, Thel confirmed. 6 months. And in that time, what else did you see? Besides the fighting and the chaos? Ren's black eyes remained fixed on her. We saw a divided species unprepared for galactic contact. Look again, Sarah said quietly. Show me the last 6 months. Show me everything. The hologram flickered. New images appeared. A hospital in Bangladesh where doctors worked 30-hour shifts to save lives during a flood. A team of scientists in 12 different countries collaborating to cure a disease. Volunteers pulling survivors from an earthquake in Chile. Students in Kenya building solar panels from recycled materials. A firefighter in Australia running into flames to save a stranger's child. Show them the space program, Sarah said. Show them how we built the International Space Station. The hologram displayed footage of astronauts from America, Russia, Japan, Europe, and China working together in orbit. Nations that had been enemies for decades, cooperating perfectly in the vacuum of space. We fight, Sarah said. Well, we also save each other. We compete, but we also cooperate. Sometimes we do both at the same time. That's not weakness, Ambassador Thel. That's complexity. The Arathian's color shifted to uncertain yellow. It is contradiction. It is instability. No, Sarah turned to face them. It's adaptability. You want to know why we're so chaotic? Because we haven't figured out which strategies work best yet. We're still testing. Still learning. Still evolving. She walked back to the table, but did not sit. You judge us for fighting each other? But do you know what happened after World War II? The victors didn't enslave the losers. They helped rebuild them. America and Japan were enemies. Now they're allies. France and Germany fought 3 wars. Now their borders are open. We turn enemies into friends faster than any species you've encountered. You also turn friends into enemies, Zareth countered. Yes, because we're not locked into rigid patterns like you are. Sarah pointed at each alien in turn. The Kazrith value logic and efficiency above all else. The Arathians operate through consensus and telepathic harmony. The Kryn respect only strength and dominance. You've each chosen one strategy and stuck with it for thousands of years. She placed her hands on the table. We haven't chosen. We use all strategies. Logic when it works. Cooperation when it's needed. Force when nothing else will do. We adapt to every situation. That's why we look chaotic to you. We're not following a single pattern. We're following every pattern simultaneously. The dangerous truth executor Viren stood up. For the first time, something like emotion entered its voice. You speak of adaptability as strength. We see it as danger. A species that cannot control itself cannot be trusted with power. Cannot control itself? Sarah felt anger rising, but channeled it carefully. We have controlled ourselves. Do you know how many times we've come close to nuclear war? 17 times in the last 70 years. 17 times we stood at the edge of self-destruction. And 17 times we stepped back. You should never have reached the edge at all, Gal said. Why not? Sarah shot back. You've had 12,000 years of peace. How many wars did it take to get there? How many of your own people died before the consortium formed? Don't pretend you were born peaceful. You just forgot what it took to achieve peace. The chamber fell silent. Sarah could see she had struck something true. These ancient species had their own bloody histories. They had just buried them under thousands of years of stability. Here's what terrifies you, Sarah said softly. You've been stable so long you've forgotten how to change. Your civilizations are perfect machines, but machines are fragile. They break when conditions change. We're not a machine. We're an organism. We adapt, evolve, survive. She pulled up her own hologram, showing footage from Earth. You showed me our wars. Let me show you what came after. After World War II, we created the United Nations. After the Cold War, we opened borders. After every disaster, we built better warning systems. After every failure, we learned. We don't just survive our mistakes. We become stronger because of them. This is why we must act, Viren said. Its voice was harder now. You admit to learning from conflict. You will bring that conflict to the galaxy. Will bring change? Sarah corrected. And change terrifies you. You've built a perfect order, and you're afraid we'll disrupt it. Commander Zareth slammed one massive fist on the table. Fear? You think we fear you? You are one world with primitive technology. We command thousands of worlds and fleets that could reduce Earth to ash. Sarah met the Predator's eyes without flinching. Then why are we talking? If you're so powerful and we're so dangerous, why not just destroy us and be done with it? Why hold this trial? Why offer us a chance to join your consortium? The three aliens exchanged glances. Sarah pressed forward. I'll tell you why. Because you need us. Your consortium is stagnant. You've had the same three species running things for millennia. The Kazrith handle logistics. The Arathians manage diplomacy. The Kryn enforce order. It's efficient, but it's also boring, predictable, stale. She smiled, and there was no warmth in it. You don't fear our violence? You fear our creativity. You fear what we might become. You fear that in 1,000 years, humans might be the ones sitting in judgment of new species. And you can't stand the thought of losing control. The verdict ambassador, Thel's colors cycled through a dozen shades. The telepathic alien seemed to be struggling with something internal. Finally, it spoke. I have touched your mind, Dr. Chun, only at the surface, but enough to sense what lies beneath. You are terrified. You believe you failed people who trusted you. You think you are not qualified for this task. Yet you sit here arguing with species that could end your world with a word. Sarah felt exposed, but refused to look away. Yes, I'm terrified. Welcome to being human. You hide it well. We're good at hiding things, especially from ourselves. Executor Viren returned to its seat. For a long moment, the Kazrith simply stared at Sarah with those emotionless black eyes. When it spoke, its voice carried a weight that made the air feel heavy. The consortium will vote on Earth's classification. You have presented an interesting argument, Dr. Chun. You admit to your species' flaws while claiming they are strengths. You acknowledge your chaos while demanding respect for it. This is either profound wisdom or profound delusion. It's both, Sarah said. That's the point. Commander Zareth growled low. The Kryn vote for termination. This species is too unpredictable. They will cause problems we cannot foresee. Better to eliminate the threat now. Sarah's heart sank. but she kept her face neutral. Ambassador Thel's colors shifted to deep purple. The Erathians vote for restricted integration. Allow humanity into the consortium, but limit their expansion. Give them one world only. Let them prove themselves over centuries before granting them freedom. 2 votes. Neither was good. Sarah looked at Executor Viren. The Kazrath was silent for what felt like hours. Finally, it spoke. The Kazrath have calculated the probabilities. In 70% of scenarios, humanity causes significant disruption to consortium stability. In 20%, they cause minor problems. In 10%, they become valuable assets. Sarah waited. This was the moment. Everything depended on what came next. However, Viren continued, we have also calculated the cost of suppressing a species with humanity's adaptability. The resources required, the resistance we would face, the probability that some humans would escape and become a permanent threat operating outside consortium control. The Kazrath leaned forward. Logic suggests that integration, with careful monitoring, presents less risk than elimination or restriction. The Kazrath vote for full admission to the consortium. Let humanity rise or fall by their own choices. We will be watching. Sarah released a breath she had not realized she was holding. The vote is decided, Viren announced. Earth is granted provisional member status. You will have access to consortium technology and trade. You will be bound by consortium laws. In 50 years, we will reassess. If humanity has proven stable, you will become full members. Not termination will be reconsidered. It was not perfect. It was not even good. But it was survival. Sarah nodded. We accept. Go home, Dr. Sarashan, Ambassador Thel said. The Erathian's colors had shifted to something almost warm. Tell your people they have been given a chance. Do not waste it. Sarah turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. You should know that this negotiation was being broadcast to every major government on Earth. They're watching right now. Whatever happens next, they know exactly what you think of us. The 3 aliens stiffened. You wanted to judge humanity, Sarah said quietly. But humanity was judging you too. Now we know exactly who we're dealing with. See you in 50 years. She walked out of the chamber without looking back. Coming home, the shuttle ride down was longer than the ride up. Sarah sat in silence, processing everything that had happened. She had bought humanity 50 years. 50 years to prepare. 50 years to become something the galaxy had never seen before. Her communicator buzzed. Messages were flooding in from world leaders. Congratulations, praise, demands for interviews, offers of positions. Everyone wanted a piece of the woman who saved the world. Sarah deleted them all when the shuttle landed. She stepped out to find cameras and reporters and officials waiting. She walked past them without a word. Someone tried to grab her arm. Security pulled them back. She made it to her car and drove home in the early morning light. Earth looked the same. People went to work. Children went to school. Life continued as it always had, except now everyone knew they were not alone. Sarah poured herself a drink. Not whiskey this time. Just water. She sat at her desk and looked at the blank screen of her computer. 40-3 people had died in Mumbai. Because she failed, 8 billion people lived on Earth because she succeeded. The math did not erase the guilt. But maybe, just maybe, it balanced it out. Her communicator buzzed again. This time she checked it. The message was from an unknown source, transmitted through channels that should not exist. It contained 3 words. Well played. Human. Then another message appeared, this one with a consortium signature. 50 years? The clock starts now. Sarah smiled. It was a real smile this time. Humanity had been given a chance. Now came the hard part, proving they deserved it. But if there was one thing humans knew how to do, it was survive against impossible odds. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson firsthand. The end.